Alright guys, we're over here at the Iowa 80 Truck Museum at the world's largest truck stop. Come along with me to take a look at some of these old trucks of history. Can you imagine, with how short of a wheelbase that truck has, how much it would beat the hell out of you? But what I'd do to drive it one time. And right here we have a 1944 White. That's one hell of a truck. Now, I'm sure my buddy might actually like this truck a little bit. He spent quite a few years working for Coca-Cola. But you want to talk about a cool looking little truck. Right here we got a 1926 Mack AC. Cool looking little trucks. Right up there where that cover is on the interior firewall. There's been some videos of the flywheel actually being exposed right there. You imagine you miss that gas pedal and next thing you know your foot's all up in that flywheel and it's gone. Chain driven, solid rubber wheels, beat the hell out of you in a heartbeat. Truck produces 50 horsepower and it would pull a 21,000 pound Caterpillar. Yeah, that ride would take you forever. It's amazing the advancements in really trucking technology we've made. Once again, I'd give my left leg to drive this truck. Now, some of you guys at tire shops might know what this is, but if you don't, it's a solid tire press. You imagine having to change out a tire on one of those rubber wheels? Can you imagine the weight of one of those tires, wheels itself? You know, those solid rubber tires are pretty heavy because you think about a Bobcat. Most of them have solid rubber wheels. Things weigh close to 200 pounds easily. Then you add a solid steel wheel on top of that. Forgot to show you all this, but those are the clearance lights back in the day. 5 little red kerosene lanterns. That's all you had to hope the guy behind you is actually paying mine and not going to rear end you. Then you got a Diamond Rio. Now it says right here it's got a Cummins 350 13-speed transmission, but it also accumulated 1.7 million miles of driving. Quite a bit of miles. And you know, something like this is not airbag. This is all spring ride. That'll beat the living hell out of you. But it's a very, very beautiful truck. I definitely like the two-tone green on there. It's really nice. Then right next to it, got a Diamond T 951. This one was a Cummins Big Cam 450 with, once again, the 2 transmission, 5-speed and 4-speed. 65 miles an hour top speed on something like that. God, look at that truck. That thing is gorgeous. And then you have my favorite brand right next to it, an auto car. Now this one's a 53, 335 horsepower Cummins, 100 plus miles an hour. For 73, that's some speed right there. That's an awesome truck. Now, I'm not really all that sure, but I presume back there where it says 53, that little window would have been your sleeper berth back there. I'm not really sure if y'all can tell. There's not a whole lot of room between that back seat and that sleeper berth. And imagine you don't have any AC in that truck. Be a pretty hot little ride. And then right next to it, Sterling White. Now Sterling, they've been in business for quite some time, but they were also the truck that Ford had made for quite some time. It's what they spun off their Ford trucks to be, Sterling trucks. And they made some pretty good 18-wheelers there for a while. A lot of them are actually still out and running still. But after Ford sold off Sterling, it was sold to Dodge. Then eventually Freightliner absolved it. That's why if you see some Sterling trucks, some of them actually look like Dodge Ram 35 and 4500s. That's a pretty sweet little ride though. It does have the extremely dangerous split rims. Right next to it we got a 36 International. Six-cylinder with a 5-speed on the floor. And this one was actually built for the U.S. Department of Commerce. They would go around and test those scale weights. 18 of them built for that very task. Now you imagine nowadays, most of the trucks nowadays are big, huge trucks. You imagine carrying all that weight on just spring ride, how bad that would beat the hell out of you. Now this one's not necessarily a tractor trailer, but this is more of a street truck. But it's a Pierce Arrow. And there's your turn signals right there. Back in the day before turn signals were standardized lights. That's still a nice looking truck. You got a 1946 Bumblebee, which is a Studebaker stock and trailer. 245-inch flathead 6-cylinder, 4-speed with 45 miles an hour. So you know, to get up that 45, you are revving the hell out of that engine. Now that's a cool looking little truck. Absolutely beautiful paint job. And then right next to it, a Graham Screenside 1928, partnered with Dodge Brothers. Now, wouldn't you enjoy driving a truck like that? It's an awesome truck. And right next to it, we got a Studebaker. 94 horsepower, 6-cylinder flathead. That's a nice looking little pickup. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, that's not a pickup. That would technically be a tractor trailer. Something you would see probably hauling old pie trailers back in the day. Got a 1930 Studebaker, and I believe this one is a winch truck. Got a 22 white 15 3/4 ton. Top speed of 20 miles an hour. Oh, that would beat the hell out of you. Looks like it was probably some sort of gas truck or something. That's a nice looking truck though. You got a 1933 white model 612. Then a 27 gram 1 ton. Which once again, this would basically be another Dodge Brothers basically, because it had a Dodge transmission, a Dodge engine. Another little winch truck. And then you have a 26 auto car right next to it. Now believe it or not, that's not the oldest auto car that was ever made, because they were in business from about 1897. And they're actually still in business now. It's one of the few manufacturers that are still around from way back when. And I say few manufacturers because a lot of them don't exist anymore, with the exception of Freightliner, Kenworth, Peterbilt, and Mack. Got an REO Speedwagon. This one's a 29. Another little gasoline truck. You got an old International Model 63. This one was a water truck for the street department. Then you got a 29 International Harvester. And this one is an old mixer truck. You know, I've driven mixer trucks before and they beat the hell out of you. I can't imagine what a truck like that would do to you. You got a Diamond T. Top speed of 15 miles an hour. Once again with those rubber wheels. 5th wheel hitch, so we know that that one also hauled trailers as well. But that would beat the living hell out of you. And you got a 25 Kenworth. 25 mile an hour speed limit. Sorry, max speed. Air tires in the back and solid tires. Sorry, solid tires in the back, air tires in the front. So I'm going to keep doing some looking around and I'll keep taking some pictures, letting y'all see what I'm seeing here. Now I'm not going to get descriptive with all these trucks. I'm more or less just going to walk on through with them. I'll keep the signs in view, that way you could at least see what each truck was, and if you want to do your research on it, you're more than welcome to. I know going through all the information of the truck is a little boring, so. Got another winch truck there. And there's plenty of more trucks that I'll come and walk around and show y'all. There's a tall cabover. Now I actually saw one of these at the Houston Trucking Show. And man, I can imagine trying to get it out of there, man. Damn near got to do this, do a large stretch. There's the information on it if you want some. Good old C600. And here we go with some of the older trucks in the showroom here. Now this one I can imagine they're going to be doing some restoration on. That's the thing about this museum, is they really depend on donations to do restorations on trucks. And although it does look broke down and falling apart, it's still a magnificent part of history. Especially when you get to a truck like this. Which realistically, this is no different than a covered wagon with an electric motor in it. Now, out of all the old trucks, this is one of my favorite ones. I love the old Macks. Just love the design of them. The design of them, they're just nice trucks. The British were actually the ones that kind of coined it, the British bulldog, because of the front end on it. And that's where the bulldog came into play. Now this one is actually quite sad to see. So I've always absolutely loved the CBEs, because just the design of them is just the most obtuse design possible of a truck. But the sad part about it is, if y'all remember, YRC just went out of business a couple years ago. No, sorry, a couple months ago. And that would have been one of their old trucks. But this truck was just, it's a magnificent truck. Sorry, I almost dropped my camera. It is such a part of history. Now the CBEs, they didn't last all that long. I want to say they were only out for 4 or 5 years. It wasn't all that long, because they found out just they were more dangerous than any other truck out there. But if you kind of recognize the design of it, it does still kind of carry over to this day. And it carries over more in the form of a yard dog than it does anything. But it's a magnificent truck. And also that Freightliner here, that was an old Consolidated Freightways truck. And right next to it, we got a Conway Express truck. Now see, I love the old Ford cabovers. I adore these trucks. Just how tall they were always so menacing looking, just huge. Just absolutely beautiful trucks. I am a sucker for cabovers. They are one of my favorite style trucks. So I'm gonna go to the other side of the showroom and I'll see y'all there in a minute. Alright. Now here's an old bullnose Kenworth. Oh, those things are so beautiful. I am a sucker for old trucks, I really am. I absolutely love these older rigs. Let's take a look at this old GMC over here. Now, some of y'all might know that name. And if you don't, what you do know What's this name? CFI. Now granted, this was way back before CFI became a mega carrier. Back before you can start driving with them with almost no experience. And I'm not dogging on anybody who works for CFI or anybody who drives with very little experience. We all need to start somewhere. But ain't that just a beautiful truck? And if you say you want to drive that, you're a liar. I'm just going to call you out right now. Now these, I love these. These are the GMC Generals. Oh, they're such awesome trucks. I really wish car makers like Ford, GM, all those still made 18-wheelers to this day. I think that there still is a giant market for it. But I also understand that with having bigger companies like Freightliner and Mack and all them, it's just not a big enough market to be able to really dig into it. But this might astonish some of y'all. That's a GMC Astro. Now, some people think of the Astro as the Astro van. Well, that would not be your soccer mom's car right there. But once again, I absolutely love it. Now, yours truly, being the fat boy he is, probably would not be able to ride very comfortably in that cracker box there. Got another GMC right here. Then over here, got an International Harvester, a Rambler. And if I'm making y'all sick by spinning around a lot, I am sorry. We got another GM right here. And this one was also a dual transmission, 4-speed with a 3-speed auxiliary. Another GMC. Solid rubber tires. And this would be what an old service station looks like back in the 20s and 30s. You got a Chevy Wrecker right here. Now, you know, with a dump truck like that, when I drove dump trucks, it would fill you up as much as you can. And you know for a fact it was no different back in the day. But my thought behind it is, what happens if you roll over in the middle of dumping that truck? Now granted, it's not a giant dump bed, it really isn't. But it's big enough to have a weight shift to roll you over. That's gonna hurt a lot if you roll that truck over. Walking over the other side here. Got another International right here. Now these trucks are just so cool, man. This is why history really needs to be preserved, because these trucks are just amazing. We got another GMC right here. The Big Brute. Now I'm not sure if they have one here, but if they got a bighorn here, I will definitely get a picture of that, because a Dodge Bighorn is one of my favorite 18-wheelers. But I'm going to move on to another section. I'll be right back. Alright, check this out. A 58 Kenworth bullnose. Now this had the 5x4 Spicer. Still a beautiful looking truck. And right next to it, you got a Kenworth, a 52 Kenworth bullnose with a 5-speed and 3-speed auxiliary. Now that is cool as hell, ain't that? And there's the chassis record right there. This is definitely a truck that was used. Now granted, all these trucks are used. And then we have old Highway Hank Hilton's truck. The Kenworth Aerodyne. And this had the Detroit 8V92. It's a nice truck. Definitely a little design, but hey, it fit his taste, and that's all that matters. And then you have the Ryder Paymaster. Now, that's one ugly ass truck. Now, I like cabovers, but I do not like those types of cabovers, but I also understand what they were trying to do for it. They were trying to make a more aerodynamic truck. That's a 64 International. You have another Mack AC right here, which once again, y'all know I absolutely love these trucks. It's got 4 forward gears and 2 reverse gears. Got a 39 Mack right here. I'm going to be going left and right here in a minute, because there's also trucks on the right side as well too. Got a Diamond T, 1959, with a cattle hauler. Let's get a good look at what the front end of this truck looks like. Got a 34 GMC T38. And there's your bed back there. Looks pretty comfy to me. It's another livestock trailer. But this, of course, was still back in the day when they were basically still using pickup truck chassis to make 18-wheelers with. I'm sorry, tractor trailers with. Want to get technical, it's a 10-wheeler. Then we got a 1948 Mack. Another 48 Mack. 55 Mack LTL. You're good, boss. Come on ahead, man. You ain't bothering me.
I'm trying to picture this rabbit.
Got a 63 Mack. 1960s Mack. A 64 Mack. Now that's one beefy looking truck right there. You're not going to find Macks built like this nowadays. Now I'm sure you can probably get a Mack custom built. But as for getting one stock like this, yeah, now granted back in the day these were probably custom built as well. But they weren't as customized as they'd have to be nowadays. And then right across from it, got a big ass International Lodestar 1700. And this was a corn sheller truck. Basically a stationary combine, if you can imagine it. Now these trucks are more recognizable because I still see some of these out on the road to this day. They weren't super powerful trucks, but they could go anywhere. You got a 49 Brockway. Let me come over here and show you some of these engines. Now this is an ISX here. These are pretty common in more of the international trucks and occasionally Freightliners. Freightliner does use Cummins and International, or sorry, Cummins and Detroit. And they are some of the most powerful engines I've ever had. I've had a Cat before, but definitely powerful, but I like my Cummins. But you can't get a Cat nowadays anymore. Not unless you're using a glider truck. And then I believe this one is the Hall Scott engine, so this would be the Hall Scott gasoline engine. Hall Scott 400 series. Let's see. Oshkosh Motor Company. Date of manufacture, October 67. That's a big son of a gun. So I'm gonna walk back over here and we're gonna finish up with this tour. Got ourselves a 24 Brockway. 49 Harvester. Now this is cool. An international armored truck. That's cool. Now some of y'all played the game Mafia 2 or Mafia 1. You've probably seen a version of these that they would have had in the game back in the day. But that is a pretty cool little armored truck. Got a 21 Harvester. Then you got a Mercedes. That's kind of an ugly looking little truck. Got a 48 Diamond T. A 1919 Ford Model TT. And this would be Ford's version of the snowmobile. Now that's pretty cool. Now check this out. I love this truck. Now this is a white Freightliner, so this is before it was basically Freightliner. Because Consolidated Freightways was basically the one that started Freightliner. But now that's a cool truck. And now the thing about this truck is if you look up there, you realize, if you look really closely into there, right up in there, right next to the CB is a little hole. And that little hole is your entryway into that sleeper berth up there. They were always trying to maximize space in trucks like these to keep them short, to keep them within legal length restrictions back in the day. I'd hate to be that driver who's sleeping up in the top whenever somebody finds a bridge and tuna cans it. Got a paddy wagon. Now when it comes down to my absolute favorite cabover of all time, this right here has always been my favorite cabover that was ever produced. I love the Ford cabovers. These are my absolute favorite. Just the design of it just looks absolutely beautiful. They're just gorgeous trucks in general. If I could find one and completely restore it and turn it into a drivable 18-wheeler, I would in a heartbeat. You got the old Ford right here. And those 750s are amazing trucks. They're just beautiful. Then you got an International Harvester pickup. Got a 68 F250. And you got my dream truck, a 79 J10. Absolutely love those trucks. Now I believe Jeep was not owned by Dodge at that time yet. I think it was still owned by AMC. But I know Chrysler and AMC did a lot of work together. But that is still a nice truck. Then you got a 58 Apache. And then a 1910 Avery tractor. Another Pierce Arrow truck here. Once again, solid wheels. Super awesome truck. I have no clue how to pronounce that name. Fagiel van. Definitely a weird design, but I also completely understand the unibox design. Realistically, this is no different than having something like, say, a courier van, FedEx truck, something ideal to that. It was definitely aerodynamic with the way how it's got that swoop design to it. And I'm not sure if y'all remember, but that Ryder truck I showed y'all down there, I think that's part of the reason why it didn't do all that well, because these trucks are probably doing perfectly fine with fuel mileage with having a swoop design. You got a 46 wide over here. Absolutely beautiful truck. You got a 66 auto car. Stainless steel. And we got one more section to walk down, and that's pretty much this entire museum. This is a 45 Chevy Master. And if you realize this really isn't much bigger than, say, a Chevy 2500, realistically. It's about as long as a 1500 long bed, but it's probably got the suspension parts of a 2500. Pulling a trailer like this. This is a 1926 four-wheel drive Auto Co. What an original name. Granted, it did hold up to his namesake. Here's your front differential. And this one would be basically the ideal work truck back in the day. And there's your rear differential down there.
This one's got white posts on it. Let me see gear.
This is one of the trucks they used for scales years ago. Wasn't that something that had scale stuff back then?
Yeah, it was all mechanical.
Then you got a 37 Mack AC. Now it's definitely a cool truck, but once again it's chain driven. So you're not going all that fast, first of all, and second of all, you throw a chain, you're pretty much up shit creek unless you know how to fix it. You imagine if trucks were still chain driven nowadays? Oh, that'd be an uncomfortable ride. And then there's the 1954 International Harvester. This is a badass truck. Love this truck. There's your sleeper berth on the back of it. And this one was restored and retrofitted with a 13-speed. Thanks for coming with me to the trucking museum. Really hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know what you thought. I hope to see you on the next one. Chuck and Chris out.